Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we have a case here of a policeman who tackles, let's just say, a 14-year-old lad and gets him on the ground, but does not do so in a controlled manner. And the parents are now trying to get this cop prosecuted for, criminal charges against him, basically, for assault or some form of bodily harm. There was a fight between two schoolboys. The policeman interrupted and tried to sort it out. He tackled the lad, threw him to the ground. Apparently the head hit the ground with a massive thump, which is against training. The police are supposed to be able to put people on the ground without harming them. Especially, this is a child, remember. In the eyes of the law, this 14-year-old boy is still a child. And it makes you wonder that if the cops can do this to a child, what would they do to a full-blown adult? But then the force refuses to prosecute, the CPS refuses to prosecute, saying that they see no evidence of harm. Well, I think the child may argue against that when he's sitting there with the head out here, throbbing. But it shows a lack, I think, of training. But we're just going to go over the incident, and I'm not going to make a decision. I will leave it to you. I do have a view on it, but we'll present the facts and maybe ask a question or two. But I think ultimately, I think we know where we need to go with this. But hey, there he goes. So, dad of schoolboy slammed to the ground by cop, blasts decision not to prosecute. The shocking incident took place at Glasgow's Smithycroft Secondary School in April, with mobile phone footage capturing the moment the boy's head smacked off the floor. And if it is the case, and it is, then yeah, I can see the argument that the cop failed in his duty of care. Yes, sure, he was trying to calm the situation down, and putting someone on the floor is a very quick way of doing it. But there's a way of doing it, and slamming their head off the ground is not it. Is it a lack of training? Is it a lack of care? Should it be a prosecutable offence? Or is it something that can be dealt with internally with an internal reprimand? I think, personally, if the kid is fine and moving on and everything, then an internal reprimand would be enough. If there was any kind of physical damage, then yes, I do believe it should be prosecutable. Simply because you can't have police causing physical, permanent harm or any serious crime, any serious harm to someone. That, if it was me doing it to someone else, would be a crime. Just because a policeman does not mean or absolve him of being under the law. Anyway, the father of the teenage boy who was slammed to the ground by a police officer has blasted the decision not to prosecute the cop involved. The shocking incident took place in Glasgow's Smithycroft Secondary School back in April, with mobile phone footage capturing the moment the boy's head smacked off the floor. We can see some images coming up here. The 14-year-old, who cannot be named for legal reasons, obviously, has been involved in a scuffle with another pupil, which had reportedly ended even before the uniformed cop intervened. And so there you are. So in the first picture here on the left, you can see the cop grabbed him and is forcing him down. Then that's him on the ground. The correct procedure is, as you're dragging them down, is to put your head behind, or your hand rather, behind the back of their head to stop it. He did not do this. And he's pushed him down. And apparently the scuffle had already stopped. So why is he doing it in the first place? Is this police thuggery? Is it police violence? Is it a cop making a mistake? Even so, he did not do what he was supposed to do. And he did not have a duty of care. I believe this. I believe he did not have the duty of care, and I believe he did something wrong. Whether it was deliberate harming, it's up to maybe a court to decide. But even if it gets to that point, I think certainly internal discipline should have been enough at the very minimum. But that hasn't happened either, because the police don't even like disciplining their own people. But we are talking about effectively a child here, 14. Anyway, in the video, shared exclusively with the Record, the officer can be seen sweeping the boy's leg before throwing him to the ground with force. It was one of the things you get taught. It's a bit of basic jiu-jitsu. You put your right leg, you hook it round behind there, left or their right leg, because they're facing at you. Just put your knee there, and then you bring them round. So you grab their shoulders as you do it, and they've got no option. They go over. Got basic army training there. But you have that, and they're over. But as you grab them and put them down, you either hold them here, 2 hands, so you grab them and put them down. But as you ease them onto the ground, you slow. So there's no hard push onto the ground. Because some people, it could kill them. It could quite literally kill them. So you slow the fall. Or as they go down, if you're doing it one-handed and you start to swing there, and you bring the hand down to rest. That's how we were taught. I'm sure that's how the policeman was taught. But in this case, he obviously didn't do it. Anyway, the boy's family reported the officer to the Police Investigations and Review Commissioner, who launched a probe before submitting their findings to prosecutors. But the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service has concluded there was insufficient evidence of assault. Have they not seen the video? Reacting to the news, the boy's 40-year-old dad said, "My wife and I were shocked when we read the letter. We thought that having watched the video, there would definitely have been a different outcome." They said in the letter that this was done in a controlled manner because the officer put his hand on my son's back, which is what you're trained to do. But you can see clearly from the video that he removes it before my son's head smashes into the ground. It wasn't controlled. My son was hurt. I think at that point, certainly either internal discipline or a prosecution should follow. You cannot have cops harming people. I know they have a hard job. I appreciate they do a lot of hard work. Most of them are okay. Most of them aren't corrupt. There are some. I've reported on them. Some of them are quite evil. Some of them are murderers. Or worse. But you cannot absolve them from breaking the law. And abuse is abuse. Harm is harm. And assault is assault. Whether you're a policeman or not. You should not be... you cannot be excused from being under the law simply because you wear a uniform. Anyway, he said, this is the father continuing, he said, if this is the sort of training that officers are taught to use on minors, then that's something that Police Scotland should look at. It was definitely over the top. The dad said the family will appeal the Crown's decision not to prosecute and that his son has been left frightened to return to school. He continued, my son hasn't really been back to school since it happened and we're working on getting him into a college placement. The school reviewed the CCTV footage from the incident and decided against any form of punishment for my son. He said he's never been in trouble with the police before, so I think we underestimated how much all of this has affected him. The Children and Young People's Commissioner for Scotland said it is important for Police Scotland to consider the matter further and stressed that officers must treat children with humanity and dignity, and a lot of them don't, and that's the problem. Head of Advice and Investigations Nick Hobbs said, good relationship with trusted adults are key to healthy childhoods, and police officers should take a human rights-based approach which treats children with care, sensitivity, fairness and respect. But when you see this child now will grow up and continue to go through his life never trusting a cop. And why should he if cops are doing this to him without any form of punishment? Walking away, assaulting a child and walking away. It's not the worst crime a policeman's ever done, but they shouldn't be getting away with anything. All children under 18 have the right to be treated with humanity, dignity in a way that takes into account the needs of their age. The law is clear that the police may use force only where lawful, strictly necessary and in a manner which is proportionate. And I've got to say, slamming a child's head off the ground is none of those things. Any use of force on a child requires a police officer to take even more care due to it having a potentially greater impact on a child's body. And it is appropriate this matter is now being considered further by Police Scotland and the Police Investigation and Review Commissioner. The Crown and Procurator Fiscal Service says they reserve the right to prosecute in future should further evidence become available. And I think they should. Now, I'm not going to go with a full assault. I'm pretty sure the cop didn't mean to do this. I am absolutely sure he did not set out to harm the child. If the child got harmed, it's unfortunate. I don't believe he did it deliberately. I think a prosecution is possibly over the top if the kid's okay. But he certainly should have some internal discipline. Maybe bumping down in seniority, something like that. But hey, it shouldn't be allowed. Children, particularly children, need to be protected. Well, we all need to be protected, but particularly children need to be protected because they are so vulnerable in so many different ways. Anyway, I shall round off there, and I'm not taking a strong stance on it because you don't know the full circumstances. But I think in the general, I think an internal discipline should be enough for that. Anyway, rounding off coming up. I think what's particularly egregious is not so much this particular case of this particular policeman, that particular child. I think it's more in the general that policemen tend not to be prosecuted for harming citizens. Whatever the case, an arrest can be done without harm. And it should, where possible, always be done. People should not be thrown to the floor, should not be hit, should not be beaten. If two cops come to arrest, then two cops can arrest one man. Even a big man, quite easily without having to resort to extreme force. I mean, sure, if extreme force is necessary, absolutely go for it. Don't have a problem. If someone is being completely awful, but really, a 14-year-old boy, not really up for it, are you? Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. A bit of a lighter one, nothing too serious there. It's an opinion piece, really, isn't it? Let me know what you think. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.